This video is brought to you by Patreon supporter Sparks.
Hello and welcome. I have a very special Halloween treat for you. I'm going to be reviewing this pumpkin. It's about 8 inches across with a nice little stem on top. A little bit of funky stuff on the side, but other than that, it's a beautiful little pumpkin. No rot, no issues whatsoever, no wormholes of that kind. Picked this up a couple weeks ago, and it's still in good shape, even though it's been indoors next to a heater. And I have to say, I'm very impressed by that. I also am wearing my orange NATO'd Reticle. I think this is the SR25 titanium diver. And as you can see over there, my orange kitty cat Buttercup is over there. She's just wanting to hang out. So I got a very orange mood going for you today. So this pumpkin can go off to the side because I have its little sister over here, which has got a nice little face painting on it. So adorable. Gotta thank my mom and sister for dropping this off. M from M Cooks was nice enough to surprise me with that the other day. But that's not the real reason why we're here to review on my new review butcher block sort of table. Oh no, I got something a little bit better. This one comes in the way of Patreon provider Sparks Razor HD Gen 2 3-18. Yes, I finally got my hands on another Gen 2 Razor HD, and I must say, I've been playing around with this a little bit. It is every bit as nice as I was expecting it to be. Right off the bat, typical Razor HD box. Big, menacing, impressive. There's everything you're going to need to know. EBR-2C MRAD reticle, 3-18 by 50. I think the other sticker on the other side says made in Japan. No, it does not. But this is made in Japan. Nothing else on the outside of the box. Oh, there it is. There's a sticker that says made in Japan. I knew there was something on here. Anyway, I really like Razor HD boxes. They're just really nice. He bought this obviously used. This box has been pre-loved numerous times. I don't know if he's the second owner or third or whatever, but box is holding up quite well. But enough of that. Let's open this up and see what we've got. Got some swag going on. Vortex loves to throw some stuff in there. Oh, this is interesting. We'll look at that in a little bit. Thank you for choosing Vortex. Passed inspection. Oh, that's another interesting one. We'll talk about that in a second. And here is our Reticle Manual. So for this particular reticle, everything you're going to need to know is going to be in here. They should include this with every type of Razor HD. In fact, they should include one of these with every scope. So this way you can maximize the functionality of your reticle. Good enough, I'll throw it to the side, and cleaning cloth. So before I actually pull the scope out, I'm going to tell you a little story. And this is a true story. This happened to Sparks not too long ago. He had finally gotten this scope from wherever he bought it from, and was so excited he took it straight to the range. So he didn't mount it on a rifle yet. He just brought it there so he could take a look through it and see how he liked it. So the cold to cease fire, he puts the scope down on his bench, and the gentleman next to him was shooting an AR-10, pulls the magazine out, puts the gun down. Another guy from another stall came by and was admiring this guy's AR-10 and was like, "Hey, what kind of trigger do you have in there? Can I feel it?" The guy goes, "Yeah, sure." So without checking the chamber, this third guy takes off the safety and squeezes the trigger. It sends a .308 round out of the barrel, obviously, and directly into the front bell of this Razor HD. You don't believe me? Here are some pictures. So within a couple of hours of Sparks owning this optic, it got shot by a .308 at very close range and theoretically destroyed the scope. He went home that day, composed an email to Vortex explaining to them what happened, and they promptly sent a reply with an RMA number to send the scope back to get fixed under warranty. About a week and a half or 2 weeks later, this showed up. As you see it right here in front of you. They ended up saving the entire mechanism on the inside. They changed, obviously, the front part of the housing and the glass that was inside. But everything else was original to his old scope. In less, I think it was like around 2 weeks. They didn't ask any questions. They didn't care. That is why you buy a Vortex. I'm not paid, I'm not endorsed by Vortex. I just really love them as a company. And one day I'm actually going to do a video explaining why. However, that'll be a video for another time. Let's take a real quick look at this scope and some of its features. Now, I had already reviewed the Gen 2 1-6E sent in from Sparks as well, and I love that scope. Honestly, it's one of the best top tier LPVOs I've ever reviewed, with the exception of the weight, and that thing was a pig. This thing is no exception, and that's the first thing you're going to notice. It is ridiculously heavy, especially if you're used to lighter scopes like from Leopold and even their PST line from Vortex. This thing is a friggin' tank, and there's no way of getting around that. It's really heavy. But I think if you're really interested in buying one of these, you know that going into it, and it's not really a deal breaker for you because you want something that's absolutely bulletproof. Well, actually, this one wasn't bulletproof, but the warranty is bulletproof. So, you know, they go sort of hand in hand, I guess. Anyway, I'll talk more about the weight in a little bit, but let's start off with the back at the European style quick adjust eyepiece. And right off the bat, just like the 1-6 that I reviewed, it is buttery smooth. However, I wish it had a little bit more tension on it. This feels like, well, especially if you're taking it in and out of a range bag, this could definitely turn on you at some point. Now, with that being said, there is no wiggle on this thing at all. And it feels nice and tight in that regard. I just wish there was a little bit more resistance on here. In typical Vortex fashion, there is no throw lever for the magnification ring. Instead, you get these nice little splines over here, and you know, they feel like they have a decent amount of traction, but I want more. I really want more. Why can't Vortex why aren't you just including either a throw lever in the box with this, or just mill one like right there? So this way when you turn it, it's over there now, and you don't have to worry about it, or have your customers spend more money. Just think about that for a little bit. Anyway, this being a 3-18, we have 3 as our minimum and 18 as our maximum. It is exactly 180 degrees out from one another, which is very standard on most optics. Magnification ring does spin nicely. Perfect amount of resistance in there. Any more, you'd have to be torquing your scope really hard when you're changing magnification, and that could, you know, disrupt most of your positioning. With the exception of there being no throw lever, I would say this is just about perfect. Moving on to the illumination ring, just like the 1-6, this is locking, which is really, really cool. You have 11 settings, 1 to 11, with offs in between each. There is no dedicated night vision as far as I know, but one gets basically so dark that, you know, you'd have to be using it in complete pitch black to see it. Other than that, perfect action. Don't mind the noises my cat is making because she is destroying a toy. I really, really like this. I also like the fact that you can set it and forget it. You lock it in place. You don't have to worry about this thing shifting on you. Or you shut it off, you lock it, and that's it. You throw it in your range bag, you throw this off a building, you don't have to worry about your illumination coming on and killing your battery. Speaking of battery, let's take a look at the compartment inside. And before I even put my token in there, one thing I could already say that I like about this is that once it's locked, you don't have to worry about anything turning when you go to take off the cover. It should come off nice and easily, like you see. And I'm very curious to see how this mechanism looks. Typical Vortex fashion, you have a lot of springs around the outside of the battery and a nice big old spring on the inside, putting positive pressure, keeping it in place. There's also an O-ring on the outside of the cap, which might be a little bit hard to see, to weather seal it. So basically, as good as you're going to ever get for a battery compartment. Kalas, you see this? This is why your K16 is not on my shelf. I'm not buying it because your battery compartments suck. While we're still on this side of the scope, we're going to take a look at the Parallax Adjustment next. And this is another reason why I love Vortex optics, is because their parallax goes down to a very small number. This one goes down to 25. I believe their PST goes down to 15 or 20. Anyway, it's more than close enough. Unless you're my friend Noah shooting this at a know your limits target at 20 yards, you know, you're not going to have any issues going down this low. Just to give this a comparison for you, a lot of the Steiner T5 and M5 models go down to 50 meters. So if you're going to be planning on, you know, doing rim fire shooting at 50 yards, it might be a bit of an issue for you. Anyway, as you can see already, we're at 25 yards being the minimum, and there's our infinity all the way at the top. So almost a full 360 degrees. I'll say it's about 300 or so. What this is going to do is allow you a very, very finite adjustment to get a really perfect focus on target. Now, one thing I actually don't like about that is look at how far 25 to 100 yards is. It's more than 180 degrees, borderline 250 degrees. Why? You know, I understand that you want to get really, really finite adjustment in there, but I'd personally rather have my finite adjustment being like between 100 and 500 and then beyond. So they gave you the majority of this ring to go from 25 yards to 100 yards. I don't understand it. I don't know. But here we go, from 100 to infinity is that very, very little. Not even 90 degrees, probably like 65, 70 degrees. I guess it'll be fine. I'll find out in my testing. Anyway, a good thing about it, it feels perfect. Damping on this is great. Zero snags whatsoever. It is fluidly smooth. Honestly, it feels perfect. Just like the illumination and the magnification ring, this feels sensational. Now, another really nice feature about this Razor HD Gen 2 are its locking turrets. Pull up and rotate. Let's see what we got. Just shy of 18 mils of elevation. I don't know what this is zeroed for currently, but there you go. As far as how they sound, friggin' awesome. Very little play to no play in between clicks. You preload it, and then it just jumps. It's perfect. It's exactly what you want. Perfect connection between your fingers and the turret. And then, of course, you set it, lock it, and forget it. Same exact turret you can find on the windage, except it is clocked left and right for obvious reasons, which at this price point, you should absolutely have perfect turrets like this. That's 6.5, 7, it's about 8. No, that's 7 mils of rotation in both directions. And just like the elevation turret, perfect. Real quick, let's take a look under this turret and see what we got. So again, because this is a locking turret, we don't need to worry about holding the scope and the turret and trying to unscrew the top. So there's going to be your zero adjustment. And then there are 1, 2, 3 set screws on the side, which should allow us to change them independently. So you adjust the zero on the inside, orange handle for Halloween, and then you have the 3 set screws on the side, which you could loosen up and then tighten when you're in position. And then one thing I forgot to mention is you'll have a rotation indicator on the side. So I'll pop this up, we'll get this going, we'll get to 1 full turn. This sticks out 1 ring, as you can see. And now this actually has a little bit more adjustment in it. 2 turns, 2 rings, and 2.5. Well, no, a little bit more than 2.5, but there you go. All right, and with that, the only thing really left to do is take a look at it. So I'm going to be the first to admit, I really have a soft spot for this magnification range. I know a lot of people don't. I think it's a little bit more of the bastard child when it comes to the quote-unquote higher magnification optics, but I really like 3x. And the reason I like that low is situational awareness and scanning a large perimeter. You know, you get a real large field of view and you get a lot of information coming through that glass. And this glass, as you can see, is razor sharp. Just like the 1:6, it is beautiful. Bumping it up to 18x, and you can see that it is still really, really sharp, and the illumination is actually pretty much daytime bright, even though the entire thing gets illuminated. I kind of like how Steiner does it, where they just do a particular part of the reticle, not the entire thing. It allows it to be a little bit brighter in my opinion, but this thing is friggin' awesome so far. And even though I like doing this during my tabletop review, I just wanted to give you an idea of just how heavy this thing really is. 47.3 ounces is ridiculously heavy. And just to make this live for you a little bit, I'm going to show off something that I haven't really showed anybody yet. Steiner T5 XI 5-25. And right off the bat, this thing is a featherweight by comparison. So we had just over 47 ounces to 33 ounces. You're talking about 14 ounces. That's a whole entire steak that you could eat yourself. 14 ounces is probably more than this pumpkin. Okay, this pumpkin is about the savings that you're getting between that and this. Do not ever think you're going to put this on a hunting rig, because you'd be retarded if you did. Yes, it's phenomenal, good glass and all that, but this thing is just that heavy. Thank you very much for sending this in, Sparks, and thank all of you very much for watching. Have a happy and safe Halloween.
And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you, this wouldn't be possible.